During this season of COVID-19, we've seen the world around us change. We've seen the needs of people change. We've seen the way we interact with others change. And all this change can be scary. It can push us to fear, to hide, to give up. But Iowans aren't the type to give up. We stay the course. We hold the line. We don't yield to the pressure of a difficult situation. We rise to the occasion. And during this series, we get to hear stories from 4 of our Prairie Lakers across the state who have held the line in their little Iowa during this season, who have inspired us and challenged us to follow their lead. But as we march through this challenge together, we hold the line.
Hey, Prairie Lakes, great to have you. And we are joined today by a good friend of Prairie Lakes and a good friend of ours. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Katie Brumm. I go to the Osage campus.
Yeah, Osage.
Yeah, it's actually literally like right over there.
All right.
Not even. We've been going to Prairie Lakes for 8 years. During that time, we've had 2 kids that have been dedicated there. We've become members. Just raising our family, going every Sunday in the winter and online in the summer.
You're Okoboji people, aren't you?
Right.
That's good. Hey, Katie, just tell us real quick, 8 years ago, how did you guys start coming to Prairie Lakes? That was way early on.
Yeah, it was when we were still at the CRC here in Osage, and they were doing an invitational series, or Prairie Lakes was, and it was Kelsey and Ryan Jensen invited us to church with the promise of a steak dinner following church for lunch. So they invited us, and been there ever since.
Okay, Prairie Lakes, there's the new standard right there. On your invite, you bring them over to steak dinner, they'll last at least 8 years. That's awesome. Good job. Hey, Katie Brumm, you are a nurse in a very, very crazy season. And all of us are praying for our frontline workers all over the place, but it really feels like the healthcare workers are really on our minds a lot. My daughter's a nurse. My son-in-law's administration at the hospital. So we're always praying for you guys. But you work at Mayo, and every day you go up there, or on your shifts, you go up there. And man, what is it like now to walk into your job at Mayo?
It's weird. It's eerie. It's quiet, and everybody's masked now. You have to be masked from the time you step on campus. You have to have a mask. So from the time I get out of my car till the time I get back in my car at the end of the day, you have to have a mask on. Our patient load is like half in our area of what it normally is. So our staff, those numbers are down as well. So it's just very quiet and eerie.
Which is
I'll explain it.
Mayo is always so busy and crowded and full. And I just can't imagine to walk in there in the eeriness of just empty hallways. And
yeah,
the masks, Katie, the everybody walking around like that. And from the time, like you said, like the time you walk in the front door, you've got to be masked up. Mm-hmm. What's that kind of do for you emotionally?
It's a constant reminder of weird things going on. The pandemic's going on. You have that mask on, you get used to it for a little bit, and all of a sudden you breathe weird and it touches you somewhere else. And you're like, oh, that's right. You have a mask on. We have a pandemic going on. Awesome. This is where we're at. And then you have to go over your day again, trying to remember, like, I still have my job to do. I still have my patients to take care of, despite all of this craziness that's going on.
Yeah. And just that, and always kind of, you're a little bit more on guard all the time, right? You're wearing your mask. And I mean, I even notice that when I'm even out a little bit in town, you're just.
Well, if somebody so much as sneezes or makes a weird noise, and you kind of will look at them like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And then you don't want to do that to them because you don't want to make them feel bad. But at the same time, you're thinking, what is wrong with you? Like,
that's right. You're supposed to be home if you don't.
Put it away. Yeah.
Hey, show us your face shield that you have to wear.
And normally I have a mask under this, but this is my shield, my droplet shield.
Wow, look at
on
that
it.
with your name. Wow,
Yeah.
and just and when you work with ear and radiology, so when you work with patients, I mean, just a mask and a shield, it just kind of takes a little bit away of how you show them love and care and concern, right, and compassion.
Yeah. You try to talk to them as much as you can with your eyes, and you
Yeah.
want to do it, but without looking like really creepy, like, how are you? But also it's hard for them, it's hard to show them love, but then it's hard to figure out how they're feeling too as a patient. Like, are you in pain? Are you really feeling fine? Are you joking? Are you not? Because with half of their face covered up, half of their emotions are missing. Like, I can't read as much on your face as normal, which makes it harder to care for the patients on top of everything else that's going on.
Yeah. So Katie, we're all just at least a little bit aware, and all of us are praying for and empathetic to our frontline workers. So you walk into a vulnerable place, you walk in vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the unique a family setting where you have to come home on an hour drive home, and you have to come home, and then you have special circumstances at home that also
Right.
have you stay on high alert. So talk to us about that.
So we have 2 children. Tucker is 8. Sadie is 6. Sadie has a genetic disorder. So she's immunocompromised on top of a gamut of other things that she has that go with her genetic disorder. So we are probably more cautious than we need to keep her safe for when yeah. So, I mean, me coming home it's an ordeal. It's like a 30-minute ordeal when I get here. I have different shoes in my car that I actually wear in the hospital versus what I wear when I'm my driving shoes.
Okay, wait now. So you leave the hospital, you
I
take
leave
off
the
your
hospital
work shoes, and you put
outside
on
of my
your driving shoes.
car
Okay.
and put them in a bucket. So they don't touch, the bottom of my shoes doesn't touch anything. When I get in my car, I also have my hand sanitizer. So I'm not touching anything in my car that could be spread or anything like that. When I get to my house, then I take off my driving shoes, walk into my house, take my socks off, put them in the dirty laundry that's right inside the house. And then I come in, don't touch anything, go shower, and then come back out. And still usually when I'm in my towel, I'll grab the Lysol wipes. I'll go back to the bathroom, work my way all the way back through the house, touching and wiping down anything I might have touched on the way out, clean my car, anything I would have touched, my volume, the steering wheel, the shifter, whatever I could have potentially touched since I left work till the time I got in the shower. We try to make sure it's sanitized.
So Katie, you're literally on high alert at work all day, masked up, gowned up, the whole nine. Then you have to come home and you have to be on high alert with your daughter. Why the big deal with the shoes? Why is that such a big deal?
Coronavirus has been around since what? November, December. There isn't enough research to tell me that it's not on my shoes, and when I wear my shoes into the house that it's not going to be on my socks, and I'm not going to spread it everywhere. So if I can eliminate something, then I'm going to do it. If there was more research that told me I didn't have to do it, I'd keep going on like I normally would. But until then, it's different shoes and shower every time.
Yeah. Wow. And that's just crazy. And that's especially a protection for your daughter.
Right. Because I don't know if I wore my shoes or socks through the house. I mean, her primary mode of transportation is rolling around the floor. Well, is she going to roll through it? Is she going to stick her face right on the floor where my foot was? Yeah. I don't know. So we'll do whatever we can to make sure she stays as safe as possible so we don't end up in the hospital for that reason or any other reason right now.
So Katie, you're living on this kind of this razor's edge. You go to work and it's vulnerable. You come home and it's vulnerable, and you're always having to be on alert. How are you just keeping your heart up, your joy up, your spirit up? How are you staying connected to Jesus? Tell us about how that's working for you, because you're in a unique spot.
Right. For like, as far as coping mechanisms go for me, I mean, I laugh off as much as I possibly can. If we can make a joke out of it, we make a joke out of it. And if it's Sometimes they're probably not the most inappropriate, but hey, if the shoe fits at the time, it fits, and that works. And as far as our routine goes, we're making sure that we're keeping our normal routines up. We're praying with our kids when the time strikes us before bed and whatnot, making sure that they're staying educated and doing what they need to do. And just making sure that we keep the rhythms that we've always done. We're still going to church on Sunday. We're still meeting with our small group on Zoom when the timing works for everyone. Yeah. Still being in contact over text or social media with the people we would normally stay in contact with. I mean, it seems a little different probably for my husband and I, because we're both considered essential, because he's a construction worker. So we're both still going to work every day. So for us, it's not as different as it is for some others, but still you have to be cautious and keep up routines in a different way.
You've got that extra high alert that just always is on. How are you seeing, Katie, how are you seeing God kind of show up in this to you, in you, with you, through you? How are you seeing that?
I mean, a lot of inner dialogue that's going on that makes you think twice about different things. You leave room, Prairie talks about the breath prayers all the time. That comes up a couple times a year, every year. And it's when you leave a patient's room and you're like, oh God, please tell me they don't have COVID-19. And then you're like, okay, Katie, that's a little selfish. Maybe we should pray for their safety and their health. So it's just different things that come up that just remind you of what's going on and what you need to do. And also making sure that those are conversations that you're having with your coworkers or friends and stuff, whether it's coworkers. I still work side by side with my coworkers, 6 feet side by side with my coworkers. But making sure when it comes up in conversation, telling them, oh, your church doesn't have online services, ours does. Good. Or, oh, okay, maybe you want to try a different one. There's a lot that do. Try it, find it. We can Google it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Katie, when you are walking through a season like this and you're on the front lines, what is it that you would want us to know? Those of us who aren't, in the healthcare field or, an essential worker somewhere, what do you want us to know? How would you like us to be praying for you and thinking about you?
Well, don't wear gloves in public. I mean, I want to say that, but that's that humor part with the coping. Gloves away. But no, on a serious note, just keep praying for the people that are healthcare workers, showing them your love, whether it's things I can think of that have been blowing up my social media, or the chalk art, the hearts in the windows. All that, we see all that stuff and we appreciate it. Do we consider ourselves heroes or anything like that? I'm speaking for myself, and I know a few others. We don't consider ourselves heroes. We're going to work. We're doing our job. We signed up for this. Do we sign up for COVID-19? No, but we signed up to care for our patients. Everybody's doing a lot of work now when it comes to all the essential people. And I don't think anybody really is like, oh yeah, I'm a hero today. Let me put my cape on.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know that you don't look at yourself that way, but I want you to know that we and your family at Prairie Lakes, Katie, we are proud of you, and we're proud of all of your teammates and all of our healthcare workers, all of our frontline workers, all of our essential workers across our state and across Prairie Lakes. And I do think you're a hero. So there.
Thank you.
You're loved. We appreciate it. Okay.
So just to reiterate what Pastor John said there, to Katie and then all of the rest of our doctors and nurses and long-term care facility staff and anyone else really who finds yourselves at a job where you're caring for our more vulnerable, or you're maybe caring directly for those infected by COVID-19. To all of you, we really want to say thank you. Thank you. Here in Black Hawk County, where I live, we're watching the virus make its way through our communities and specifically our long-term care facilities. And I sit on the board of one of the larger ones in our area. And as such, I get updates almost daily now from our CEO, who, like Katie and the rest of you in the healthcare field, just been working literally around the clock. and you're doing everything you possibly can for the safety and the health of the people in your charge. And there's so much out of your control. The risk is very real. We're starting to see the numbers go up, not just of confirmed cases, but of our loved ones who are succumbing to this disease. And it's been weeks and weeks, and we've got a few more weeks to go. So while I can appreciate the humility you all exhibit when you say that you're not a hero, and while I understand some of the eye rolling probably that happens when you hear it for the thousandth time, as sincerely as we can say it, we really appreciate you. You're caring for our parents and grandparents. You're caring for my grandma. And you're doing everything you can at great personal cost. Nobody will really know what it's like to be in your shoes. And hopefully, God willing, nobody is going to have to for a long, long time. Okay? And we should also say this. It's Mother's Day today. It's Mother's Day today. And I don't know about you, but the mom in our house has had a pretty stressful and challenging past few weeks as well. Trying to coordinate with teachers and school projects and Zoom meetings for the kids, trying to get groceries ready, sanitizing everything all the time. And in the case of the mom in my house, working a job on top of that, just trying to stay sane. So being a mom is a tall task. Being a mom is a tall task. Being a mom in COVID-19 days, even more so. So while all of us wish we could take a break from COVID-19, kids, give mom a break today, please. All right? Don't just tell her Happy Mother's Day. Tell her Happy Mother's Day. Even right now, tell her Happy Mother's Day and that you love her. Do that, but then do something today to help her. Your mom does way, way, way more than you'll ever know or be able to see. And so do something really, really nice for your mom today, okay? All right. Hey, I'm excited for this series that we're kicking off this weekend. Called Hold the Line. And like you've already seen, we're going to be hearing from Prairie Lakers, just normal people from several of our campuses who are doing their best to live out their faith in their part of Iowa during some of the most strange and challenging times most of us have had to live through. And as I listened to Katie's story along with you, and how she's holding the line as a nurse at the Mayo Clinic, one of the best medical facilities in the entire world, on the front lines of this whole epidemic. As I listened, there's just a few things that really inspired and challenged me about her story, and about how she's living her faith out. 3 things, actually, I just want to highlight. Here's the first, okay? Real heroes simply serve. Real heroes simply serve. As a teaching team, we watched each of these videos together over Zoom, just getting ready for this series. And as we watched Katie's, Pastor John was like, I was really trying to get her to tell us what it was like, how crazy it was and how she feels about all these things she has to do. But she was just so steady. And so humble, like we're not trying to sensationalize her story, but come on, you're a nurse at Mayo. You're a mom at home. It's got to be crazy stressful. You're such a hero for having to deal with that. Tell us about it. How did Katie respond to that label and all of those accolades that we want to heap on her? Here's what she said. She said, we don't consider ourselves heroes. Did we sign up for COVID-19? No. But we signed up to care for our patients. That's incredible. It's an incredible statement. And I think the spirit behind that statement, it reminded me of a story that Jesus tells in Luke 17. I want to read it for you, okay? Here's what he says, the story he's telling. He says, suppose one of you has a servant or a worker plowing or looking after the sheep. All right, so just get that picture. Out in the field all day at a plow, chasing sheep. Suppose one of you have someone who works for you that's like that. Will you say to your servant when he comes in from the field, come along now and you sit down to eat? Won't he rather say, prepare my supper and then get yourself ready and wait on me while I eat and drink, and then after that, you may eat and drink? Will he thank the servant because He just did what he was told to do. And then Jesus gets to this statement, which is verse 10. He says, so you also, when you've done everything you were told to do, should say, we're unworthy servants. We've only done our duty. It's one of those stories that if you're just kind of sitting in your chair with your coffee and you're reading it, you kind of go, who wants to be like that? Like, who wants to be that guy, you know? I mean, if that's what living your faith out is like, if that's what following Jesus is like, it's just some grunt who works like a dog all day and then gets home to just do more work, who's going to sign up for that? Here's the thing, that's the mentality of a true servant. And then when you see it lived out, like Katie's living it out, just going into work and trying to keep her patients safe while her team tries to combat this pandemic, and then coming home and doing it all over again. And then talking about it like it's no big deal, like it's just her duty, you know, it's just what she does. When you see someone live that mentality out, whether it's in Katie Brumm or maybe it's just your mom as she tries to work from home while making you lunch and keeping you on task for your at-home school projects. When you see it, you start to see just how powerful it really is. This servant thing. See, with Jesus, real heroes, they're just servants. They're just people who have this heart and this mentality and this lifestyle, just doing their duty for the sake of others. They don't need the accolades. They don't need the warm fuzzies on social media. They don't need to be lauded or worshiped for how amazing they are. They just serve. And they inspire and they challenge us to do the same as we hold the line with them. So that's the first thing about Katie's story. Just heroes just serve, okay? Here's the second. Big faith is childlike faith. Big faith is childlike faith. I don't know about you, but my favorite part of what Katie said was when Pastor John asked, you guys ask her, how do you keep your spirit up when you're always on edge? You know, you go to work on edge, you come home, you have to be on edge at home. How are you keeping yourself up? How are you staying connected to Jesus? How are you staying sane? Here's what she said. I laugh off as much as I possibly can. If we can make a joke out of it, we make a joke out of it. Sometimes they might not be the most appropriate, but if the shoe fits. I mean, what kind of person just laughs off COVID-19, you know? And laugh it off while you're on the front lines of COVID-19. And you got to understand, like, it's not that she's ignorant of the dangers. She's not naive. She's not downplaying it. She's not calling it a hoax. She's not insulated from it either. She's right in the middle of it every single day. And she's laughing, laughing. You know, that reminds me of another thing Jesus said when he was answering a question in Matthew 18. Let me set it up for you. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus and they asked, so get the picture. His disciples come to him, they asked him this question, who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? He called a little child to him and he placed the child among them. You need that picture, all these men asking Jesus, who's the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And a little kid comes into the mix. And he said, truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And then here it is in verse 4. Take a look at this. Therefore, here's what he says. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. See, the disciples were wanting to know how faith is measured in God's kingdom. You know, what's it like to be at the top? Who's got the biggest faith? Who's the best? And Jesus points to a little kid. I got two little kids at home, 7 and almost 10, about a week away from being 10. And, you know, their lives have been pretty disrupted, right? I mean, no school since before spring break, no friends, no dance, no baseball, no choir. And we're going to have a COVID-19 birthday like a lot of you have had to put on a COVID-19 birthday. You know, they're just pretty disruptive. And now, you know what's fascinating about my little kids, and probably most little kids, I'm going to guess? They're mostly fine. They're mostly fine. Like, they wake up in the morning to do breakfast, they do some Zoom meetings and schoolwork, they do lunch, they play outside, they play on screens, and we hang out in the evenings, maybe catch a movie, you know, in the comfort of our own home. Little kids' lives completely disrupted, and they're happy. This is what Jesus is pointing to when he points to little kids. And I think this is what Katie's showing us as well when she's laughing on the front lines of COVID-19. See, little kids just trust that their parents have it taken care of. And that everything's going to be okay because of that. Mom and dad have got it. And this is what children of God do too. They just trust that their Heavenly Father, that He's got it taken care of. And that everything's going to be okay. I mean, and that's why we can laugh in the middle of all of this, because our Heavenly Father still is who He is, you know. Big faith in COVID-19, big faith isn't living perfectly and maximizing every moment and never struggling, you know. Big faith really is just childlike faith. It's just this simple trust that God's got it. That's the second thing. Here's the final thing. I want to close with this from Katie's story that just grabs me about how she's holding the line. Never underestimate the power of simple rhythms with God. Is there anything special that Katie does to cope? Does she have some kind of secret that the rest of us should know about? I mean, how does she possibly hold it together, superhero, nurse mom, right? Prayer. She goes to church online. She gets into the Bible with her kids. She invites her friends to watch online if they don't have a place to go. I mean, seriously, that's it? Never underestimate the power of simple rhythms with God. This is a weird time that we're in, isn't it? And it wreaks havoc on our rhythms. I mean, your sleep rhythms, your exercise rhythms, your work rhythms, nothing really feels normal. And when you get out of rhythm, when I get out of rhythm, it's easy to get out of our spiritual rhythms as well. Remember before all this, back in the days of a packed schedule and run around all over the place like a chicken with your head cut off? Remember those days? When the challenge was, how do we even fit good spiritual rhythms with God into all of this that I'm already doing? Remember that? Isn't it ironic that in a season where many of us have more margin, most of us find it just as challenging to get into some good rhythms with God? Don't underestimate the power of these simple spiritual rhythms. If you're discouraged, you're depressed, are you irritated, angry, afraid, maybe you can't quite put your finger on it. When was the last time you carved out some space to just sit with God in prayer and just listen to what He has to say through His Word? Simple rhythms. If it works for the nurse at Mayo, it'll probably work for you. So once again, Katie, thank you for sharing your story with us. You can expect these next 3 weeks. We're just going to highlight some stories and then look at Scripture and see what God has to say as He's using Prairie Lakers to live out their faith and hold the line in Little Iowa. Hey, let me pray for us and then we'll conclude. Father in heaven, thank you so much for another weekend where we get to gather virtually. And God, we know that a lot of us, we're just ready for life to start to get back to normal. And we know for a lot of us, it's going to be a while before then. But God, thank you for these stories of holding the line. God, help us to just take these lessons to heart and hold the line in our part of Little Iowa as well. Jesus, we pray all of this in your name. Amen.